Welcome to Nephew Paints, and in this video I'll be showing you how I paint my Primaris Space Marine skin. It's a lengthy process, so at any point when you're happy you can stop, and also the colours, if you don't have the exact matching colours, just go with what you got and improvise as you go along. And let's get straight in. So I've already base coated the model with a Chaos Black, and now I'm just going over it with my first base coat of Flesh Tone, which is a Bugman's Glow. You want to go a few thin coats of this until you got a nice coverage of the Bugman's Glow, and not too thick so you don't want to take any detail out of the face. And that's with the Bugman's Glow laid down, good coverage, the detail's still there, and now we'll start building up the skin slowly from the next step. Okay, so the Bugman's Glow is laid down, so now I need to add some tanned flesh from the Army Painter to the Bugman's Glow, and this will be a 50-50 mix of Bugman's Glow and tanned flesh. And with this step I'm looking to pick out some of the details of the face. So this is going to be the cheeks, the eyelid under the eyes, the nose, around the mouth, chin, the ears, around the top and the back of his head, and also this guy has a scar on his face, so around the sides of the scar there. You may be painting the monster or another model, so any other extra features of the face that you might need to do those now. And then once we've got this down, you'll have a look here, the two models are finished. So these two have both been done with the 50-50 mix. You can see they're starting to bring out the detail of the face a little bit more. It's a little bit more clear to see where we're going. Okay, so now that's down, I've gone with a mix of 50-50 Barbarian flesh and tanned flesh, both from the Army Painter, and I've added quite a lot of water to the paint to make myself almost a glaze. It's almost in between a glaze and a wash. And then with this paint I'm going over all the details of the face, so picking out the sides of his cheek here, the nose, the mouth, again the chin, and I think I went over about four or five coats of this glaze until I was happy with the brightness. You can do as many or as few as you like, it just depends on your personal taste, but again you don't want to go too thick. Let the previous coat dry and then apply another coat if you want to, brighten it up a little bit more. And then that's done. So here we have the two faces with the 50-50 Barbarian and tan flesh glaze step done. And now we'll move on to adding a wash to try to bring out some of the detail of the faces. Here I've made myself a 50-50 mix of Reikland Flesh Shade from Citadel, and I've just used water, but if you'd like to use something like Lamy and Medium from Citadel, go ahead, that'll probably work even better. Now with this mix I've probably made it a bit dark, so you could probably go 40-60 Reikland to water, but in my case I've gone for a 50-50. We're going to work it around the comms pieces, into all the crevices of the face. Here we're putting into the scars, around the back of his ear, in his ear, any other place where we've tried to avoid previously. We're trying to run this wash in there. So this is back to the 50-50 Barbarian and tan flesh mix, and all I'm doing here is just going over the face, trying to tidy up any detail or highlights I might have lost when I applied the Reikland Flesh Shade wash. So again, just going over the face, here the brow, picking out the brow again, bridge of the nose, around the scar, just neatening up the model where I wasn't happy where the wash might have settled from the previous step. Okay, so now that's looking a lot neater. I'm going to come in just with a pure Barbarian flesh glaze, and again just work my way around the model. This time really just picking where I want the Barbarian flesh to be, you don't want to paint all the previous layers with this color because it's pretty bright, so you'll just waste all your previous efforts if you just go and put it everywhere. So really just deciding where I want to put this down, and like previous steps, let it dry. If you're not happy with it, just add another coat of it to brighten it up. And then these are the two faces after the Barbarian flesh glaze. The lighting's a bit better here, so you can see they're really starting to stand out more now. Okay, so now we're going back to another wash stage. This will be a 40-60 mix of red tone from the Army Painter and water. And with this, unlike the previous wash step where we washed almost all the face, this part we're just going to stick to the front of the face. So we're focusing around the eyes, around the nose, around the mouth, a little bit to the sides, around the temples. You can go up to the forehead. Any cracks or scars in the model, you want to put it in there, but you don't want to go around the back of the head. You want to keep the red tone focused to the front, because faces have a little bit of, you know, reddish pink to them, so we want to try and emulate that as best as we can. So here, waiting for it to dry, and I'm just going back over again. And on the second model, you can really see the scars in his head, where we're going to put in the scars in the eyes. And there's not much paint on my brush here. We're really just picking out where we want it to settle without it running all over the face and making it a mess of pinkish red all over the previous work. Okay, once that red tone has dried and you're happy with how dark or deep you've got the red, then we move on to the previous step of the pure Barbarian flesh glaze. And then with this glaze, I'm really just being careful where I'm placing it, so just barely touching parts of the model where I might have got too much of the red tone on. So like around the lip here, I'm just painting the edge of the lip, really gently, small brush strokes, small amounts of paint. And then on the other marine, you can see the difference between, say, his forehead and his face, where the red tone has been applied. It gives it a nice contrast. And we'll go in now, and we'll just lighten up that red a little bit. So around his eyelid there, just really small amounts of the Barbarian flesh glaze. Just really taking my time. From now on, if you make a mistake, it's going to be quite tough to fix. Like, of course you can fix the model at any point, but you'd rather not go back and have to repaint things and do previous steps from now on in. You want to really take your time. So you can see here he's starting to lighten back up to more of a flesh colour from his red face. So yeah, once you're happy with this step, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so I've finished with the Barbarian flesh glaze, and from here you can probably stop. These look pretty good, but I want to go for that extra little bit of detail, so I'm going to keep going on. So we'll move on to the following steps. Okay, now with the Barbarian flesh, I've used a mix of 80-20 Barbarian flesh to corpse pale from the Army Painter. And with this step and following flesh steps, it's just really putting minute little touches where you think you need them, just to bring the skin back up to life. And there's no real amount, just whatever you're happy with up to this point. And that's with the 80-20 Barbarian flesh and corpse pale mix. And again, that was a glaze. Okay, so now For the next few steps, it's just about repeating the same techniques as the previous one. So what you want to do is, with the same barbarian flesh and corpse pale, the first mix was 80-20 barbarian to the corpse. Now over the next few stages of the video, you'll see the model starting to lighten up, and it's just adding a little bit more corpse pale to the barbarian flesh mix. So it goes from like an 80-20, then slowly to a 60-40 and a 40-60, and then 20-80, 20 being the barbarian flesh and 80 being the corpse pale mix. And again, with all of these steps, just do as many glaze passes as you think you need before you move on to the next one. So up here you can see I'm just using a real tiny amount of paint. A lot of times it's mostly water in the later steps, and I'm just nicking parts of the face that I want to start to stand out or I'm not happy with. Maybe you've gone a bit heavy with the blend, so you just want to bring it back a little bit. So here, just quickly touching all the parts. There's hardly no paint going onto the face at the moment. Yeah, just work your way around. You don't have to do all these steps. You can stop at any point where you're satisfied, but get it to a point you're happy with before you move on to the wash step. And now we'll go into the wash stage of the face again. Okay, so now to add another tone of red to bring the face to life a little bit more. This will be a mix of 80-20 Khorne red from Citadel and purple tone from the Army Painter. And with this step, we're trying to really be careful now. You don't want to touch a lot of the actual flesh you lay down, because that's pretty much the end result of the flesh. Again, you can always touch it up if you do make mistakes. Just try to be as neat as possible laying down this wash, and you're really just trying to pick out the super fine details. So like around the nose there on this guy, which was trying to run it into the scars, trying to avoid the flesh as much as possible. You will get a little bit on the flesh, but you can always just quickly fix it up. So like I did there, not too much, just a quick wipe, and she's good as gold. So this is the 80-20 mix we're running first. Once you've done this mix, we'll darken up the purple tone. Also let this dry. Let it dry before you do the next application of the wash. Otherwise you'll start just ruining the model. So this part here, you can see it's a lot darker now. So this is a mix of the Khorne red and purple tone again, but this is now a 50-50 mix. And I'm really just picking out the details around the center of his face, not going too far down. Just around his eye, again the scars, and this really will bring the model to life now. And I've decided on this particular marine, I don't want them to look exactly identical, so I've decided to darken his up again with another pass of the 50-50 mix. And here I'm just applying it over the first glaze over the lip, and eventually we'll bring the lips up to look more natural than just being a flesh tone. And then once you've done the steps you're happy with, or the passes you're happy with, this is the result of the wash stage. Okay, so now we need to make a mix of mummy robes and corpse pale, both from the Army Painter. And this is an 80-20 mix of the mummy robes and corpse pale. And again, you're making it into a glaze, and you want to be really sparing with this paint because it's quite bright. So just picking out the tip of the nose, just around here on the face, the scars, just the edges of the scars here to just brighten them up a little bit. The eyebrows, I think I'll go around the back of the head here in a moment. So you can see how watery the paint is. So be a little bit careful, you don't want it to get into the recesses around the ear here. And this will bring the models, the brightness of the model right up. Now there on the nose I went a little bit heavy and I got into the recesses, so I'm sure I fixed that up. Again, just wipe it away with your hand or a dry brush. And this is what they look like once you've added that step to the faces. So now I've added some more mummy robes to the mix. So this is a 50-50 mix of the mummy robes and corpse pale. And I'm hardly putting any paint on the model here. You're just putting very, very minute amounts just to pick out and brighten up any details. So you're looking at the main features of the face being the eyelids, the nose, the chin, you know, the cheeks, the ears. It's really, really small brush strokes and small amounts of paint for this step here. Okay, so I've gone back to a 50-50 Khorne red and purple tone for the next step, and I'm just sparingly placing it where I want to deepen the red on the face. So I'm going to go around the eyes, into the scars a little. It's being very sparing with where I'm placing it until I'm happy. And then you want to glaze the lips. I think this is about 4 coats on the lips and also inside the mouth to deepen the colours there and break it up from the main face tones. Now it's time for the dreaded eyeball. So I've used Corax white here from Citadel, and here all I can say is good luck. Really take your time putting the eyeball in. I'm not so good at it, so it took me a few attempts and then a few touch-ups on the eyelids around the eye to fix it up. But yeah, just do your best and get the eyes put in, and then we'll put in the dreaded eyeball after this step. But if you make any mistakes, it can be fixed, so don't stress out too much. Now we've got the white of the eye in, it's time to put in the little eyeball. So I've used Abaddon black here from Citadel, and with the eyeball, just tiny brush strokes, and you just want to pull. The way I find the easiest way to do it is to pull from top to bottom, just trying to avoid the flesh tones around his eye. And now back to the Corax white, I'm just putting in his bottom set of teeth. Now I was very surprised on this particular face how detailed the teeth were. So these are really going to bring the face to life once you've put these teeth in. So just take your time, really take your time. You don't want to make a mistake here again, because you have to go and fix things up, and it's very close to the end. So just go back and forward as many times as you need until you're happy with the teeth. If they're a bit too bright, you can always just put a tiny little wash over them just to dull them down a little bit, but that'll be the teeth completed. Okay, and for the final step of the flesh is just tidying up any last little things I've noticed on the model. So in this particular case, I've touched the white on the bottom eyelid, so I'm just going to fix that up. A little bit on his cheek, just here around the nose, anywhere else on the model that you may have noticed you might have messed up, just go now and just fix it up, because once we've done this step, the skin will be finished. Just around the top of his head here, back of his head, and yeah, the skin is from now completed. So let's have a look at the two faces together, and I'm quite happy with the result here. So after this, we'll just fix up the last little few details on the faces and we'll be done. Alrighty, on the home straight now. So just make a mix of 50-50 Abaddon black and water, and just dotting in these little implants on the Space Marine's foreheads. And the second Marine only has the one implant, so we'll put that in here. Just being careful not to get it on the flesh you'll work so hard to build up. And then once you've got these implants down, you want to use straight out of the pot shining silver from the army painter, just putting this in the middle of that, leaving some of the black showing underneath, And once you put this in, that is it. It's completed. Alright, and here are the faces. Finally finished. These took quite a few hours to paint, but I'm very happy with the results. If you don't have any of the colours that I've used in the video, you can always swap any of them out to suit yourself. Also with the mixes I did, if you're not happy with a certain mix, just change the amount you put in. But yeah, Games Workshop have really stepped up their game with these sculpts. The detail in these faces was incredible, really. They were fun to paint, stressful at times, but I got there in the end. If there's anything with the video I should change or advice to improve, just please leave a comment below. It'd be nice to know what I'm doing wrong or right. And the next video, I think I'll do something with bases, not as intense. So thanks for watching Nathy Paints, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch ya.